it was almost like I'm there to serve her. She would just storm out the back door because you knew she was going to get one of the canes. She had her knees in my back and she was punching me on the back of her head. When it stopped, I walked over to the kitchen, opened the drawer, and I put my hand on the biggest knife. If I hadn't have left home, either I wouldn't have been there or she wouldn't have been there.
Wow.
Every single shot he hit me with just felt like bricks in my head. And I lost it on points. It just set me back like years. When it's right, it's the best sport in the world. I love this
Clearly.
sport. I absolutely love it. I don't have good memories of my childhood with my parents. My kids, I do as much as I can with them, so there's got loads of memories. I will never say I'm good at boxing. I will never say I'm a good trainer, manager, whatever I've been. What I will say, and I'll say it with my chest, is that I'm a wicked dad. And that's because of what I went through.
Welcome to another episode of My Life in Boxing with me, Gareth Davies, and him, Spencer, the Omen Oliver. In this series, we speak to ex-boxers, current boxers, trainers, managers, promoters, MCs, anyone you can think of in the world of boxing. And joining us today is the one and only Mr. David Coldwell, former boxer, now very renowned as a trainer, but also as an analyst as well and a commentator on boxing. David, a warm welcome to you.
It's a pleasure to be here. Good to see you guys.
Let me ask you straight out, what was your very first moment of interest in boxing?
Going back to the days of Iron Mike Tyson. I've got two standout fighters from right at the beginning. Was Mike Tyson actually getting up. Remember the ITV sports shows, middle of the night?
Yeah.
Getting up, sneaking downstairs, putting volume on low, and watching Mike Tyson blitz through people, and then obviously the Trevor Berbick world heavyweight title win. They jump out and grab me. The other one was coming in from football training on an evening and getting in front of the fire, freezing. And I look at the screen and there's this guy backed up on the ropes. And all of a sudden he lets go this hellacious combination, fast flurry, then skips off and he's skipping around the ring. That's it. Go forward a few years, I'm watching a fight as a boxing fan, I realised which round, I actually know the round. It was round 9 of Ray Leonard against Hagler. So they must have had it on highlights when it had just happened, I think 86 or something like that. So you're talking 85, 86, I started watching boxing. But Mike Tyson and Sugar Ray Leonard were the two.
Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler, of course, in one of the greatest fights of all time, with Hagler fighting at middleweight, being a middleweight king, and Sugar Ray stepping up from welterweights, fighting and winning.
Yeah.
Who did you have winning that fight, by the way?
Leonard.
Who did you have winning that fight?
I had Hagler winning.
I'm biased
I'm
as
a
well.
Leonard man.
Well, and I'm a Hagler man. That's well, like.
But
it was
I
one
watched.
of those.
I bought. I remember going to WH Smith's and not WH Smith, HMV. Sorry, and they used to have a segment where they sell all videos, VHS, for kids out there. VHS. We used to put them into this machine, big machine, and I saw the video for sale, so I bought it from HMV, Hagler Leonard, and. Leonard all day. Every time I watch it.
The build-up was insane, weren't it? It was like, it captured all of us. We were of the same age group, same generation, and those fights were the fights that really captured us all.
Yeah, brilliant.
I think Turkey Al Sheikh would have got Marvin Hagler back for a second fight, though, because he walked off into the sunset and never boxed again after that. I remember sitting with him years later. Hero of yours, you're saying?
Leonard, 100%.
Yeah.
As in the hero.
Where did you... Were you alone watching that?
Yeah.
As a kid?
My family, my dad, nobody was sporty in my family.
Talk to us about those very first memories. You're in Sheffield. I know you got a love of soccer as well, of football.
Yeah, football's
Tell us what the young Dave Coldwell was like, apart from these thoughts about boxing.
The young junior school. It was football. I was football mad. That's all I
Who were
wanted
you
to do.
loving? Who were you following?
Diego Maradona.
Okay, I love
Diego
it.
Maradona. I remember the '86 World Cup was my
Did
first
you have
real
shaggy
World Cup.
hair then or not?
I did actually have, believe it or not, I had long hair. I did have long hair actually, like not far off yours, to be fair.
I don't think that would look weird now, if I'm being honest.
I think you'd look great with my hair.
You know, like,
And
it's
if you
going to
can
be...
superimpose it when we edit the show, then maybe we can put a hair.
Everyone will be watching this show now, visualising it.
You'd look great with my hair.
Well, yeah, maybe.
So Diego Maradona,
So Maradona
great Diego Maradona.
Back then it was Maradona, it was Glenn Hoddle, Ozzy Ardiles even. I just loved flair players. And I used to pretend to be Maradona. I used to play football on my own, go to the park every day, have a ball, just on my own, practice.
Left foot?
No, right foot.
So how are you pretending to be Maradona with the right foot?
Because I was a right-footed Maradona. I was short like Maradona, that's how. I was short like him.
He is a brilliant... I think he's the greatest football of all time.
I do, because of the era and the tackles that have come in, like your old school, like knee-high tackles and stuff like that he was riding and things. Pitches that were uneven and rubbish. I think he was phenomenal for me. So yeah, it was football, always football. And yeah, but life got really, really hard. And when you're the school wimp, and when you get it constantly every single day, verbal, physical, embarrassment every day, being more and more introvert. Because at first, at junior school, I was all right. But then it just got where I pulled within myself. And
But being bullied, but effectively,
yeah.
And it's tough for kids, isn't it? Like, when you look through the history of boxing, a lot of boxers get into the sport because of that situation, that reason, and that probably inspires you more so, to achieve and do better, because of the pressures that you're taking in life as a young kid.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think there's two places people come from. One is because the tearaways, they get into trouble and it's getting on the right path. And two, it's because they're the ones that are intimidated, weak, mentally frail, and looking for that bit of confidence, looking for that bit. Do you know what it was? It's quite funny. Do you remember the film Karate Kid?
Of course.
Right. Ralph Macchio, Karate Kid. It was that kind of ideals where you kind of look, or I kind of look at and think, right, do you know what? I'm going to learn how to box. I'm going to go and beat them all up. It was never, I'm going to learn how to box and fight. It was, I'm going to get you back. I'm sick of this. I'm going to get you back. It was that kind of motivation originally.
Let's come to that in a minute. That age of 11, 15 onwards. Yeah. At home, there were issues for you as well growing up.
Yeah, massive.
Talk to us about, I mean, it's a deep thing to talk about, and we want to know about your life and how you're affected, and you've already begun to touch on it. But you didn't have the best relationship with your mother either, did you?
No. So my mum was Indian, my dad was English. But what's weird is that she wasn't, it's not weird, but in trying to, because still as a grown man, you're trying to figure out why. It never leaves you. You always think, why? And my mum, it's not like she was a traditional Indian woman. She called her name was Sue. You know, she called herself Sue. And she wore normal clothes, and apart from if she, go to family events or rest of her family or whatever, then she'd dress up. But otherwise, she'd wear jeans and no, like every other mum did. But she had this. It's like controlling, but where she had this idea that it was almost like I'm there to serve her.
I think it'd be fair to say, like, you could see, Dave, that listening to you there, that sort of had an effect on you
Trauma.
as a young child, also affected your confidence as well. And I can understand that
100%.
transition into the boxing, but it must have been a tough period. You was a young kid dealing with that.
The confidence bit is because she will constantly tell me that I'm no good. Constantly tell me that nothing was ever good enough. That I would never do anything. When you have that all the time, and when you get it physically and you get bashed up, you don't think that you're able. You watch other people and you don't think that you're able to do what other people do. So you have dreams of being a footballer. You're on the pitch, and everybody else's parents are there watching. Your parents never come. So you're that kid and you're always watching, and they come once, and they didn't stay. That was it. Then based on that, you're never going to be a footballer. You're never going to be a footballer. My mum wanted, probably an Asian thing. My mum wanted me to be a doctor. She wanted me as a doctor. When I went into boxing, or when I wanted to box, originally I wanted to box, she wouldn't let me. And so when it got to 15 and I'd had enough, I remember I begged her, kind of just to keep fit. And she did allow me to go once a week to start, literally to start. And then when I left home at 15, then I went every single day.
Really appreciate you being so honest and deep about
strong,
this.
mate.
Yeah, it's very strong because...
and boxers are sensitive people, mate, and
they
I understand it.
We've known you a long time, and I didn't know this. I didn't know this about you, and people watching won't know this about you. When you look back on that period with Mum and growing up, obviously you've told us she's not around anymore. You told us off air. Do you think you've learned something from it, and it's made you a stronger person?
Oh God, yeah. Listen, it was the worst. Going through it was when people talk about dark times, and I see people and especially kids, and it was the worst time. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. No one to talk to. Nobody that you felt could understand. You're screaming. I got to about 20 odd years old, and one of my old neighbours, 2 doors down, she bumped into me in Morrison's, and the first thing she said to me, I'm so glad I bumped into you. She's not seen me for years and years since I left home at 15. She said, I just want to apologise. I'm so sorry. I was like, what? She said, we used to hear you screaming. But back then, people didn't interfere. People didn't.
Yeah, of course.
People didn't do anything. But when you're in that on your own, you've got nobody to speak to. It's I can't explain to you how, this is why it affects your confidence, it affects your life, it affects relationships going forward. But what it did do, I learned what not to do, how not to make your kids feel. I will never say I'm good at boxing. I will never say I'm a good trainer, manager, whatever I've been. I will never say I'm good on TV. I will never ever say that. What I will say, and I'll say it with my chest, is that I'm a wicked dad. And that's because of what I went through. It got to a point where something happened with my mum, and she beat me bad. Never forget it. She was, like I said, she was about 11 stone. She was a big, strong woman. And she had her knees in the back, at the bottom of the stairs. She pinned me down, and she had her knees in my back, and she was punching me on the back of her head. And when it stopped, I remember screaming. And when it stopped, I walked over to the kitchen. I walked straight to my our kitchen drawer, opened the drawer, and I put my hand on the biggest knife. And I remember, all I can say is, thank God, it was a sunny day, and I saw a reflection of myself in the. I just saw a reflection of myself. I can remember it so clear. I got my hand on this knife, and I looked at myself, and I just thought, because the one thing that kept me going as a kid, is I always wanted, and because I was your school wimp and I weren't cool to be around, and so I didn't because I weren't that kid, and because of what went through it at home as a family, I always said, when I grow up, please God, let me have a nice family and people know who I am. Mm-hmm. I promise you, that's what kept me going.
Well, you are definitely that.
So when I put my hand on that knife, I remember thinking, I looked at myself in reflection, I just said, what happens if when you grow up, you have a nice life, you get what you want? And I'd let go of the knife, close kitchen drawer, and literally, I think it was literally the next day, I left home.
So you take up boxing. Let's get into your boxing. And it saves you in a sense.
Yeah, 100%.
Talk to us about that formation then.
I remember the first day.
What did Brendan Ingle say?
The first day that I walked into
man.
Brendan's gym, I remember I walked straight back out because I walked through the first doors, the second doors, took 2 steps in, I looked over the side, and I'd never seen anybody being aggressive training before. And there's this big black guy doing a squat with a barbell. And as he's pushing back up, you know what you do? You go, oh, he looks straight at me. I've crapped myself thinking he's snarling at me. I've walked straight back outside. Talked to myself about 15 minutes to build up courage to go back in. I've gone in. It's the best thing I ever did. I remember the first person I met was Ryan Rhodes' mum, Tina Rhodes. And she come straight to the door and she was, and then you start off and all you're doing is footwork. And I'm around watching what's going on. And the vibe of a gym and the community and how it was just sucked me straight in.
And that was Brendan's gym though, wasn't it? That was what was special about Brendan's gym, that he actually left those doors open 24 hours a day. He didn't lock the doors in there, but it was for kids like you that he opened the doors. It wasn't just boxers.
No.
It was for kids like yourself, and it was a chance for you to change your lives. And effectively, Dave, that's exactly what that gym done for you.
This is why boxing should be in schools. This is why boxing should be backed by the government, because there are so many kids, forget about the people that make it, it's the kids that you've never heard of where it's changed their lives. Kids that had no confidence. I had no confidence walking into that gym.
No, it's
none
very
whatsoever.
clear. You're a very different person today.
Over time, you have every gym's got one that you mentor, and the slowly but surely, it's like drip feeding, reprogramming your brain to stop you from being either going down this avenue where you're going to end up in jail and stuff, or it helps you mentally to become more confident in yourself so you can go out into, whether you're a banker or working in a shop or whatever, then it helps you to function in real life. When you go somewhere and somebody gives you attention, which is what Brendan did, and you feel, the teaching you to do something, it doesn't matter what it is, the teaching you to do something, they're giving you their time, it makes you feel, hang on a minute, this, I'm getting attention here, and it makes you gravitate towards them more.
Let's just rattle through your amateur career. You don't want to talk about it.
Can we go through it quick?
Right. You described.
Is there a fast forward button on this?
No, yeah, we'll just go through this quickly. You're not proud of your amateur career.
No, I'm not proud of
Describe your amateur career.
I'm not proud of my boxing career, full stop, right? I started boxing for the confidence. Then I started loving it. I enjoyed it. And then Brendan said, we're gonna get you carded up. My guts just dropped. I'm thinking, oh my God. Because there's one thing being confident and loving it in the gym, but then when you're in front of all these people, so you'd go as a spare. Do you remember back in those days?
Of course
you'd go
I
as a spare. There'd be loads of people boxing back then, and so you'd go carded up. But I'd go carded up thinking, please God, let nobody be my weight. Please God, because I'd not been matched yet. I just went as a spare a couple of times, and then we went to Scarborough, and I remember, I think it was John Ingle. I think it was John, and he went, David, somebody your weight. And I thought he was joking because I'd been a couple of times there were no.
Yeah.
So I thought, yeah.
You get your meal ticket,
Yeah,
you get result.
Sandwich,
That's handy.
yeah.
It's got free meal, yeah.
And,
I understand it, mate. I know what it is.
So I'm 17 at this point. I didn't box until I was 17. And yeah, sure enough, there was somebody there to box. And I remember I was so scared. I'm not nervous, I'm scared. I'm quite proud to admit I was scared because I still did it.
I totally get it, mate. And it was, do you know what? Is when you're in that situation, especially as a kid and all that as well, like you go like, you're bricking yourself basically.
Yeah.
You're thinking you're so scared, but that's nervous energy. You're not understanding what that is. That fear you channel into a positive energy. And I understand what you're saying about I want to rush through my amateur career because it didn't go particularly well, nor did my pro career. But Dave, I tell you one thing that it did do. It moulded you as a person.
Oh, 100%.
Right, and it made you as successful today as you are. You look at your trainers, and what you've done. And we'll go through all that with the Tony Bellew stuff and whatnot. But the boxing was the foundations for you as a person.
Yeah,
right
100%. And this is, I'm not proud of it. I remember I fought, I crapped myself and I lost. And I remember coming out and I remember bawling my eyes out, right? Now, rinse and repeat 8 times because I lost my first 8 amateur fights. Now, on the one hand, you look at that and go, God, you're crap. I was good in the gym.
Yeah.
Fight night, fall to pieces. I remember walking out. See, you've got to understand, you used to be having crowds of people at school laughing at you while you're getting tormented, bullied and slapped around. And then you go into fight in front of crowds of people. You think, I would go to the fights thinking, I'm talking about walking to the ring.
Yeah, I know.
Thinking, Dave, what are you doing?
The nerves would make or break you. That's
that's how I would do.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you go into the ring thinking that way, you're not gonna perform great.
So you go into the pros at 20, you box till 25, you retire at 25. Tell us about what you achieved and what you learned about yourself in your pro career.
So when he turned me pro, I'll be honest with you, I didn't think I was ready because I was like, I've only won 3 fights. I've only had like 11 fights. And when we went to box, I remember my debut. I boxed Marty Chestnut, and I just watched him give Dean Pithy a right fight.
I boxed him in my second fight.
So he was a super featherweight,
and
it was 5'8", and I'm like, I remember him walking past changing rooms to walk to the ring. And I just looked at John Ingle. I went, "Is that him?" He went, "Yeah."
He looked like a giant to you.
Yeah, and I got southpaw. I beat him. I won my pro debut.
There you go.
I won my pro debut.
There you
go. And then I remember the second fight, it was at Lincoln Drill Hall. So I've won my first fight, sold back, I did a table.
Has that changed you, by the way, when you've won it?
No.
Has it changed the way you are?
No, not really. Not
grown
really.
in confidence?
Not happy, but I still wasn't a confident kid. And then I remember I had to sell tickets at Lincoln Drill Hall. And I think I did about 80 tickets. And there was a lot of people from the past there. And I remember looking through the curtain and seeing some faces there. And I was like, oh my God. So I went out to box and I walked at centre of the ring. Here's a name for you. Bear in mind, I used to walk, the joke in our gym, I used to walk around at 8 stone 2.
Yeah.
Right? I boxed a kid called Benny Jones.
Yeah,
right?
tough kid.
The guy was 9 stone 9, 5'11", right? Not even joking. I walked at centre of the ring. I'm looking up at him. And I walked back to the corner and I just looked at John Ingle. I went, couldn't you get anybody any bigger for me? And I remember to this day, he's the hardest puncher I've ever had. Every single shot he hit me with just felt like bricks in my head. And I lost it on points and it broke my heart.
So you retire young.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the transition.
Well, I started training kids for Brendan in his second gym in '96. Had some good amateur kids, and then a couple of kids that when I left the gym, it was actually prior. I'd got my first gym prior to that fight, and I remember sitting down and saying, "Oh, because Clifton had done it. Clifton had set up a gym in Clifton Mitchell. He'd set a gym up in Derby. They managed, he trained, and that's what I wanted to do. So I found this gym. I'd got this gym in Hyde Park, underneath Hyde Park Flats in Sheffield, and I was training kids there. And then when it was time for them to turn pro, then a couple of them, then I went pro with them, and that's how I started as a pro coach.
Most boxing fans watching this and viewers watching this know Dave Coldwell as the observer from Sky, as the guy that joins us on talkSPORT, as the guy that was with some very big names in very big fights, as we'll come to in a moment. What is it about coaching now that's kept you doing it with such passion and verve for, I think it's probably 20 years now, isn't it?
1996 I started.
28 years.
I started coaching in 1996.
Yeah. I mean, you put your time into coaching before, obviously, it come to light. You were training Tony Bellew, and that's where it really kicked off.
So this is why I will
You've done the groundwork.
I would never apologise.
Fighters,
I will never apologise for what I'm doing now and where I'm now. And people say, "Oh, what's he doing?" I was the guy, same as a lot of coaches out there, that would drive all the way to Scotland for a 4-round fight with your journeyman that you know he's going to lose, and you just want to lose on points. All the way up to there, come after training for weeks, come back, and you get your 80 quid, right? Not being put up in an hotel back then. You used to drive up, drive back, getting at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and you get thanks a lot for me 80 quid. I've done all that. I had journeyman. I was a spit bucket man. Done all that lot. So I will never apologise for where I am now and what I'm doing now.
No,
The reason why I'm still doing it and why I'm doing it with so much passion is because I love it. Mm-hmm. I love this sport. I absolutely love it. Yeah. It is the. But when it's right, it's the best sport in the world.
I think it's fair to say, like, your life experiences have taken you where you are now, and all you're doing is putting those life experiences over. And like you say, you put in that groundwork as a young trainer, travelling up and down with journeymen, etc., etc., etc. Your real break come with Tony Bellew, right?
Yeah. Talk to us about how that came about.
I mean, people forget. I did a great job with Ryan Rhodes. You know, he was done when he come to me. People thought he'd retired. He ended up winning British, European, beating Jamie Moore in that brilliant European title fight, fighting Canelo for world title. You know, Kell Brook won a British title with me. But Tony Bellew came to spar with one of my fighters in my gym, and that was the first time that I met him. And who
was that fighter, by the way?
It was a cruiserweight called John Anthony.
All right.
And he came and he sparred, and I was like, why is this guy still an amateur? And I said to him, I go, you not turning pro? He says, yeah. He says, I'm about to turn pro. He says, but I'm going with so-and-so. So I was like, well, at the time, I had a good relationship with Frank Warren. And I was, well, let me make a call. I said, have you not spoke with Frank? He's like, yeah, I've tried to. So I've had a couple of meetings cancelled. I says, just wait. just wait. And I got on the phone, I spoke to Dean Powell. I says, mate, this kid's a TV fighter. I says, you've got to sign him. I says, he's on the verge of going somewhere else. He said, bring him. He said, can you bring him down Monday? So I went with Tony and his dad down to the offices, and he got his first deal with Frank Warren. Brilliant. So through that, I weren't his coach, I weren't his manager, nothing. I would just go to his fights. We got on really well. I was just a friend, and I did that for majority of his fights, really.
Did you ever think he was going to get as far as he got?
No, not at that point. No, perhaps. But I didn't really see it as that. I was just there like to support him, and I just wanted him to do really well. And then I remember when he had the Stevenson fight.
He lost to Teofimo, not Teofimo, to
Adonis.
Adonis Stevenson.
Who was a beast.
Who was brilliant that night against him, wasn't he?
Yes, he really was.
Yeah, and Tony was really struggling at the weight as well at the time.
I saw him he'd come and give me a hug at the weigh-in, and it was
Bones, was he?
It was Bones.
Yeah.
That was his last fight at light heavyweight.
It was his last fight at light heavyweight, and
Cruiser.
I'll never forget what was in my head then. My dad had cancer twice. It got him the second time. The first time I beat it, my dad was a big man, right? And he had cancer and he shrunk, and it was just bones. And I remember Bellew hugging me at the weigh-in for Adonis Stevenson. And when I put my arms around him, it was light. That's what it reminded me of. I was like, what? How he did light heavyweight?
He won the
skeleton.
ABAs at heavyweight, Ben.
Yeah,
didn't he? Just so people understand the transition that he made as a professional. He didn't just go down one weight. He went down a couple of weights. Difficult.
But at that point, I'd walked away from coaching. I was just managing and promoting, and I was just helping Bellew in the corner, helping his just being around there, helping his coach in the corner, and then after the fight, it was coming up to Christmas, I think it was, and he rang me and he said, "Can you come up and have a chat?" I was like, "Yeah." I didn't think anything of it. I went up. We're in his kitchen. We spoke about the fight, about him, and then he said to me, he says, "I want you to come on board and coach me."
Brilliant.
So, the big night with you two. Well, there's a couple really. Let's go over them. There's the movie.
Yeah.
There's the Rocky movie, and there's 2 or 3 massive fights really.
Yeah.
The 2 with David Haye, which were incredible. But there was the fight at Everton. I was there at Goodison Park. It was an amazing build-up. Amazing night. Tony Bellew had said, if I lose to Alumba Makabu, it was the WBC Cruiserweight title, if you recall. He said, if I lose at Everton, I will never be able to show my face at the football ground.
Evertonian, as we all know.
And he's a dyed in the wool Evertonian.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that event, that victory that night, and also him being put on his backside early in the fight and what you went through.
Makes the story even better. No, it was the pressure that was on that kid is immense, because you have to understand, he did the movie, and in the movie, he's at Goodison Park and he's world champion. So he's like, I have to win this. Like you say, because it's a football thing, Goodison Park, but if he'd done it in a film, he's got to do it in real life.
Listen, by the way, in the film, Rocky had little Mickey, didn't he? You weren't in it, Wes. You little Dave.
No. Can you imagine? Did you get me in that? I'm gutted.
Oh, it'd be brilliant, mate.
Before the fight, he never normally had his kids at his fights, and he had his eldest Corey there.
He was about 9 or 10, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was only little then. He's massive now. He's bigger than Bellew. He's about 6'5" now. I remember as he's just popped out to go and see the ring, as you do. He's come back in, and when he's come back in, he's just broke down. He's crying his eyes out. Oh, but I'm like, what's the matter? And he's just in front of me. I've got my hand in his back, like, what? I can see the tears dropping onto the floor. I'm thinking, what? This is like a couple of hours before we're about to go out to fight, maybe an hour. I'm like, what are you doing? Probably because I think he had got his hands wrapped on or about that. But an hour or maybe 2. And I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? And he said to me, he heard Corey shouting, and the emotion just got to him. Settled him down. And then when it come to, right, it's time to start warming up, I remember when we're on the pads, there's Price, there's a few people in the change rooms. And when we're warming up, it's just off. He's off. So it's a bit tight. And so I said to Gary, who was his mate and was always round with him at the big fights, I said, let's get everybody out. I just want everybody out. So it was just me, Gary, and Tony's dad in the changing rooms. I spoke to him, and then, right, let's get to work. And we started walking, and he was firing, and it was sharp. Everything was good. And I remember he just said he could hear a crowd bouncing, he could hear this bouncing. And he just before we're about to walk out, he says, turn music off. Turn music off. And we're in the changing rooms underneath the stand, basically. And you can just hear all that stand, all the stadium singing his name.
Brilliant.
Mate, he just stood there and was just listening. It was just silence. We were silent. And you could just hear the crowd.
But when he gets dropped, he walks out, the fight starts. We know how dangerous Makabu is.
Yeah.
Tony has told us he's going to stop this guy.
Yeah.
He's been, you know what Tony's like, he's a killer in fight week. He turns into this monster.
Yeah.
But he gets knocked on his backside in the first round. What did you tell him between rounds?
So before we went out, I told him not to fight for this crowd. I said, ignore the crowd. Stick to being smart. I said, don't rush it. Don't walk onto him because you feel comfortable. And I remember he had a bit of success, and then he just chased him, squared up, chased him, walked straight into this shot, And as he goes down and he does his little backwards rolling poly,
Tumble roll,
Yeah.
out of my mouth, I remember, clear as anything, I remember that fight so clear. I just went, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear.
Say whatever you want. Say what you said, please.
I just went, you stupid. And that was my first initial thing. He's looked at me, and he's on this angle, and he's just looked at me. He went,
Remember it.
And he's like, as if to say, I'm all right. So he's got up, bell's gone. He's come back to corner, and I've pulled his trunk so he can breathe. Just went, sit down. I said, just breathe. Didn't speak. Let him breathe. Can't breathe. I just looked at him and went, you all right? He went, knows. I went, you stupid. And I told him, I said, everybody gives me grief about it. I says, you got greedy. And he did. And I says, look, this round, I says, just box him behind your jab. I says, don't let him hit you. I says, don't let him hit you. Get through this round, come back, we'll have a chat. And he did. And then he come back after the second round. Not a lot happened in the second round. He was smart. He used his brain, KJ. And then he went out there, and it was the shot that we'd be, and he said it in interviews. So it's not being said. The shot that we've been working on in the gym over and over again was a right hand drop, delayed left hook. Right hand drop, delayed left hook. And he gets him on the rope, and he does it. And when he hits him with that left hook, I'll never forget this as long as I live. When the chin drops, and I can see him because he's on that side. I'm in this corner, and he's on that rope there. And I see that he's slightly to my side, Makabu, and his chin drops. I knew he was asleep. I lost I completely lost it. It was just the best feeling in the world.
So let's talk about the David Haye fights now, because that generated there was a lot of spite, a lot of aggro. They became very, very big contests. Talk to us about those two fights and what that did for you and for Tony.
It changed his lives. Let's be real, because the Makabu fight for him wasn't about money. It was about getting at Goodison.
Fulfilling the dream.
Fulfilling his dream. So he didn't earn big. People think he earned big bucks for that. No, he didn't. That was the gamble. Then obviously with the fight with Haye, with the build-up, because Haye was very, very spiteful in the build-up.
But he was always very good at selling fights.
No, it was really good. It was really good. But like how he even turned on me, and it made it such a big thing.
What was the nickname?
Penfold.
Penfold.
Because Danger Mouse got his side.
Penfold,
But I
Penfold without the glasses.
But I thought it was funny because Penfold's got glasses and he's fat. I'd never been fat, and I don't wear glasses.
But Tony built into that as well, and he told all of us at the time, this guy could kill me. He could kill me, because it was at heavyweight, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was at heavyweight.
And he said, and he was genuinely worried. He talked about being worried. They both sold it so beautifully, though, didn't they?
It was, but it was at that time.
It was genuine.
It was genuine. It wasn't just something. It was genuine needle, and it really wasn't. And the thing about Haye he is spiteful, but he's very funny as well. So you're kind of like watching him, and it was the first fight was on the yacht. Yeah, you're watching him, and he's just laughing because we knew. I found out that he hired that yacht for literally just that photo shoot, just for that video shoot. He'd been training properly. He'd been training over in Miami. He'd been training, but he knows how to sell. But everywhere you went on the street, people were talking to me about it. I was getting messages and people tweeting me saying, you're responsible for Tony Bellew's health. He's going to get killed. You're going to be responsible for his murder. That's what they were saying. And I was like, whoa.
As a huge underdog, he goes and wins that fight. No one expects it. Then, obviously, we think that's it. So, like, David Haye will sail off into the sunset. The fight will be done. Tony will decide to, maybe retire or go on to bigger and better things, whatever he decides to do. Did you expect the rematch? I think that Tony was retired at that time, wasn't he?
So the first fight, for the first 5.5 rounds, I was happy with Tony. As soon as the Achilles goes with Haye, Tony just went emotions, wanting to kill him. And he's swinging, and it was terrible. And even when we got he knew that. He got it off me about that. Despite all the euphoria and buzzing, we were so happy. The plan was, David Haye, you get your money, retire, that's it. But the way that the first fight was, and listen, David Haye, all props in the world to him for carrying on like he did do. Because of the first fight, how it went, he had to do the rematch. So that was right. That's the last fight. That's the last fight. And the rematch went how I expected the first fight to go. If he hadn't, because my key word for him in that fight was emotionless. And all the time I was telling him, you've got to be emotionless, got to be emotionless. The worry for it was because of what he'd gone through with his personal life, with his brother-in-law.
Sure.
And so the worry for me there was, can he hold it together? And he did, and he was fantastic in that fight.
So at this stage, you've had 2 huge fights with Tony Bellew that resonate, and David Haye that resonate beyond the UK as global fights. He suddenly gets this opportunity to fight the undisputed cruiserweight champion of the world, Alexander Usyk. Did you know what you were going into?
Yeah.
And what did you do as trainer, friend, psychologist for Tony going into that?
So way back, before Usyk turned pro, Tony actually said to me in the gym one day, there's a kid that's coming through from Ukraine. I can't remember. He'd seen him on when they used to do these camps in Russia, he'd watched him spar something. And he said, he's the one that's going to take over division. He always said that. So because of that, I started keeping an eye. And so from Usyk turning pro, I watched him all the way through. Me and Tony both commentated when he did the Golovkin fight, his first world title fight. So when Bellew's retired, he's on holiday with his missus, and Usyk wins undisputed at cruiserweight, the Muhammad Ali trophy, and it calls out Bellew's name. I'm sat watching it at home. My wife's on the sofa. I'm sat watching it. And the minute he calls Bellew's name, I just turn around. So I was like, oh. She went, what's the matter? I went, he's coming back. I just knew. I knew he was going to come back. And then probably about 20 minutes later, I get a text message. What do you think, coach? I was like, and so we spoke on phone. And I said to him, I said, look, I want him to do it heavyweight. I said, you've been at heavyweight for like 3 years walking around and 2 fights. And I said, going back to cruiserweight at your age, no good. I said, I understand. I said, but if you're going to fight him, he says, no. He says, if I'm fighting him, he says, they'll not give me credit if I pull him up to heavyweight. Even though he wants to come up to heavyweight, he says, it has to be for all belts. So I understood. So we came back. I remember fight week. Well, first, I've never studied a fighter as much in my life. Like, everybody that's gone at him, he's been comfortable with. The one person that gave him some issues was Michael Hunter for the first 6, 7, 8 rounds. Michael Hunter was being cagey. So I said to Bellew, I said, like, if you just go forward at him, I said, it's what he's going to expect. I said, it's what he's built for. I said, be a mirror. I said, be patient. I said, be plenty of lead hand. I said, be clever and just pick. I said, like, I wanted to get the body shots off because I saw one chink that I saw was I saw him take a knee in the amateurs, and I was like, oh, that's the one. Because you're looking at me thinking, how the fuck do you beat this guy? And that's the chink that you get. And seeing the Hunter fight where he was not as comfortable going forward. And I remember press conference, to this day it'll never leave me. The press conference, final press conference, we're sat there, me and Tom. And I remember I'm sat here, and in front of me, I'm watching, I've got in front of me every single belt in boxing lined up. And I remember just looking at Bellew, thinking, this is the absolute pinnacle of sport. Don't get no bigger than this. I'm literally at the highest level of the sport. It's the undisputed. And that was just, to have a fighter do that, it is also, because of how the fight went, did so well, but while I'm in there, I'm watching, and I can see the energy zapping out of Tony, and I can see Usyk.
The brilliance just coming through.
It was incredible. It was an incredible occasion.
But to have a fighter box that undisputed, and not that's what irritates me. But it burns.
The next generation, if you like, and the next generation in your family. You've touched on it all the way through. Family is the thing that has defined you. Yes, as a trainer, as a coach, as a fighter, as a boxer, but family has defined you. Talk to us about that, what it means to you today. What they think of you, maybe.
It's everything. My relationship with my kids. I mean, I've got an unbelievable wife that gives me no headache. Gives me no headache whatsoever.
That is an unbelievable wife.
Honestly,
then,
I listen to people when they're talking about, the wives nag 'em and stuff like that. I don't get that.
Does she love boxing?
She's only what I do.
She loves you.
She
loves you.
She only follows the fighters that I work with, or the people, but that's it.
I mean, she's got to deal with boxing in you. Theo does his football. Your daughter's doing the DJing in Ibiza.
She's got a great life.
All over the place. Brilliant.
Great life.
Does she go to them all? Yeah.
Yeah. The
Fantastic.
lot. But you've said it. Boxing, what I do in my career, whatever I do, that doesn't define me. What defines me, and when I'm dead and when I'm done, what defines me is my relationship with my kids. Is my kids. That's it. Will my kids miss me?
Final one on the overall health of boxing as you see it. You've been around in it a long time, like we have. How do you see it?
Mate, number one, I'm a boxing fan. I just happen to be lucky enough to work in the sport like you guys. I look at this sport now and I see, due to Turkey Al Sheikh and Riyadh Season and Sella, you look at what they're doing, what they've done already. At first, people are like, it's going to be a one-off, it's a flash in the pan. But you look at the plans, you look at the long-term plans that they're putting in place, and the shows that they're putting on, they're incredible. It's what we want as fans. It's incredible. February 22nd, it is genuinely the best show I've ever seen. I've been in boxing a long time. I remember the Don King super shows, but they're before really good fights, and then the others are being, these, February 22nd, every single fight. But it's the consistency that we're looking at. Don't all expect them to be like February 22nd, because the sport's not deep enough at the moment yet. But the fights that he's making and his ideas, I loved what he said the other day. I saw a quote from him the other day where he said, boxing needs to get used to fighters losing and not just chase the unbeaten record. That's a big thing for the sport.
Finally, David, what would a 50-year-old Dave Coldwell tell a 10-year-old Dave Coldwell about life?
It's going to get good. Don't worry. Don't worry. Just believe in what's happening, what comes in front of you, and believe that you're going to get through it all, because it's going to be a wicked, wicked time in your future.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your inspirational, transformative life in boxing. You're playing undisputed. You're in the game, aren't you?
Yeah.
Sponsored by Riyadh
That is
Season.
the biggest buzz, because I've got kids and they see me and their friends see me in a computer game.
Yeah.
What a buzz that is.
Absolutely. Wish we had more time. It's been an absolute pleasure for us today to having you on. You've been watching My Life in Boxing with me, Gareth Davies, and him, Spencer the Omen Oliver. We will see you next time.